nothing more than faith, believing. She too, it says here in this passage, she has tried everything she can. She spent all that she had trying to get well, but nothing came of it. No results. What does that tell us about what the world has to offer for us? Now, I'm not telling you stop going to the doctor. I go myself on an occasion or two. I don't like going, but I go when I have to. Or Miss Pam says, get in the car. I have a love. I need your presence now. Jeff, you started this. Yeah, that's what she says. Get in the car. So, I've heard Mr. Joe Hamilton talk about Blanche. I need to see this bat that you used left on him. Yeah, she's talking about straightening that. Anyway, but this woman, she comes, she touches the hem of Jesus' garment simply out of nothing more than knowing that she'd heard and seen some things. And then just before this passage of Scripture took place, you know that the demonic was healed. Jesus cast out those spirits, those legions, and into the swine. And I'm certain out of the other miracles that had been done, it had spread like wildfire. And this woman came, Jesus touched the hem of his garment. But what happened when she touched the hem of his garment? Jesus felt power go out of him. You know, I wish I had that kind of prayer life. Think about that. I wished I had that kind of prayer life. Every time I knelt down, and went before God and asked for something, sometimes I even come with not so great of intentions. You understand? But this woman was desperate. I'm not so sure that I'm so desperate every time I go to prayer. She tried everything that the world had to offer. But she comes out of desperation to get hold of Jesus. And that's a good message for us right there. We ought to be in desperate need every time we kneel down. We ought to come to Jesus in desperation every time. And you know why we ought to be desperate? There's a lost and dying world out there, and if it's not a desperation of the need that you have, it certainly ought to be a desperation of the need that this world has. And we ought to be desperate to get hold of Jesus. And this woman touches the hem of his garment. But what happens in Jairus' life was not what he wanted to have happen. Just the reversal. Jesus stops in the middle of the street, and the delay comes. How many of you ever, I asked you this during prayer time, how many of you ever asked Jesus for a particular thing, and then all of a sudden, you find yourself sitting down. Oh man, I've gotten hold of Jesus, and you just sit down in Jesus' arms. You know you're in his presence, the presence of Jehovah. You just sit down. Well, God's going to answer this prayer. Well, about 2 minutes to go by. Where are you, Jesus? 2 minutes. Then you sit down there, you pray again, you sit down about 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe a day goes by, 2 days go by, maybe a week. Where are you, Jesus? You know, that's the impatience of humanity. That's our impatience too. Even though we're saved, we find ourselves in that position. I know. I do that too. I know you do. But God wants us to understand there's a faith that comes, that should come, when there's a time of delay. We ought to do just like Jesus told Jairus. This is a time to just simply believe that God's got it under control. It's in his hands. He's taking care of it. It's just a matter of being patient and waiting for his time. You see, it's not about you. It's not about your time. Although we think it is. Sometimes we think we're the only ones in the world that's got a problem. It's about God's time. And God hasn't left our presence. He hasn't left this person's presence, has he? He's still right there on the scene. Now, just about that time, to make matters worse, what happens? He has a conversation with this woman. She owns up to what she's done, and he tells her, "How is your faith? Your faith has healed you." Well, during this time, someone comes up. He says, while Jesus is still speaking in 35, someone came from the ruler synagogue from his house, and who said, "Your daughter is dead." Now there was a delay. Now there's defeat. Have you ever been in that situation? I found myself sometime back in the 80s. I was in 70s, ma'am. Your father passed away over at Roper Hospital. 79. I found myself in that situation in 79, and the nurse had just come out and given us the terrible news that they had put her father, J.D., on, at that time, open heart surgery was early in its existence of open heart surgery, and they put him back on the bag, and things were not going well. Pam broke out in tears. I can hear her scream now, asking people to pray, and I stepped out into the stairway. And I tried my best to make a deal with God. Because see, God at that time was dealing with me about the ministry. And I'd rather God had taken my life and left him. We had a great relationship, her father and I. Great relationship. I'd rather God had taken my life. And I said, "God, I'll do anything. I'll go into the ministry, just save his life." But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. It was God's choice that day to reveal mercy and grace. But it was a time of defeat for me, or as though I thought. Defeat. And I'm sure as Jerry stood there and listened to this man that came from his house, I'm sure that he knew, "Don't bother this man any longer, your daughter's dead." I'm sure he was at a time of defeat in his life. But let me tell you something, people. There is a faith that goes on believing even when it looks like defeat is in your presence. And it could be. Let me stop and read you a passage of Scripture. I'm going to hurry, but I tell you, you got to turn over to 1 John with me. Our people in the Luann may be able to get there quicker than I. In 1 John, the 5th chapter, I like this passage of Scripture. I'm going to take time to read this passage of Scripture because even though it looks as though we're running out of time, and we're certainly not defeated. For